Hi guys, welcome to Project Managher, where we talk all things project management related beyond what you could even expect. Today, I want to talk about something that I honestly do not think is being discussed enough in the PM community. Why are so many project managers struggling to land roles right now in today's market? And I'm not asking that sarcastically. Like for real, like what's going on? Because I have been getting influx of PMP-certified PMs stuck, like they are not converting. They are not scaling. And they are confused themselves. They're applying, they're tweaking their resume, and it's just not yielding results. These people have taken boot camps, taken classes, have their certifications, know all the terminology, but it's still not converting. So what's happening? It is not lack of intelligence. It's not lack of effort. Definitely not laziness. After a lot of research, and I mean literally talking to people, talking to PMs, discussing with HR, researching data on hiring trends now versus a couple of years ago, it's the gap between knowing project management and actually doing it. And that gap is real. Before we get into it, I want to take a quick moment to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for life. Thank you for our careers. I pray that something in this video gives the listener clarity, direction, align the listener with the opportunities that are for them. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Book knowledge versus situational judgment. When you study for an exam, you are gaining structured knowledge. You're learning the process groups, the life cycle, terminology, tools, even risk responses, change control procedures, all of that, right? But the issue is projects do not show up like that. Like they do not show up on a pretty platter. Here's the risk. What options should we use to handle it? What options should we put in place? That is not what it looks like in the real world. Stakeholder management, it's not as simple as, oh, you reach out to this person when you need a document approved. You reach out to this person when you need more technical information. There's a lot of digging, dare I say half or majority of the time. So real projects do not show up like exam questions. They show up messy. And I think that's one of the light bulb moments in project management when you realize I wasn't hired to execute a perfect, pretty project. I was hired to ensure that mess still ends successful, to be honest. And that's why it's easy to get kind of deterred when you're early in your project management career because your projects may not end as pretty as you thought, right? Maybe even it ends pretty, but you know all the struggle you went through to get there. But that's what project management is. If it was that simple, it would just be following simple tasks, right? It would just be do this, then do this next, and you'll be checking it off like on Asana. It'll just be that easy. You'll just check, nothing will fall behind. But that's why project management was truly introduced. There's so much disconnect. There's mess. There's clarifying the scope. There's making adjustments during the project. There's stakeholders that are pertinent leaving in the middle of a project, and you have to figure out how you can still source that information in time. So real projects show up as engineering telling you this is not possible, even though you've already signed off on the statement of work with the customer, meaning you are going to deliver that. It looks like getting a request from leadership for a project and they're like, we need this done in a month. And you start looking at everything and you're like, I won't even have my requirements in the month. This is what project management truly looks like. And that's where situational judgment comes in. And truthfully, this can only be learned with experience, but the good thing is that experience can come so many ways. Obviously, it can come on the job. It can come from running mock projects. It can come from mentorship. It can come from anything that puts you in that space to deal with unplanned, unexpected issues. Either somebody tells you the end product and you have to figure out how you're going to get there, or somebody kind of describes the beginning and you got to figure out what is the true purpose. How do I achieve it? what is the standard to ensure that whatever I'm achieving is actually what the end user wants? So really, situational judgment boils down to, what do you protect? Like I was saying, is it time? Is it quality? What do you flex? Are you able to go down on quality a little bit so you can deliver faster? In some projects, you can actually reduce quality a little bit because maybe there's a phase 2 in which you can then tidy up that quality aspect. A lot of times quality is a non-negotiable, especially when you are delivering to an external customer. So that means, is it time or is it money? Do we have contingency funds that we can leverage to ensure that we still meet the quality standards and we deliver in time? Or if we don't have any extra money, are we able to push this timeline out? Who absorbs impact then? If it's time, is it the customer? Are they going to have to push back their deadline dates because we cannot deliver in time? Or do we have to go into our internal company's funds to get more resources allotted to this project so that we can deliver before the customer's deadline? What gets escalated? Did we have to go to a VP to have them approve adding some extra money to this project for those extra resources? What gets negotiated quietly? Sometimes these are conversations you can just have within your team because you will still be able to deliver the project successfully, so leadership doesn't really need to know. For example, if you're working with a functional leader, and let's say you're working with engineers, and that functional leader are able to kind of bargain one-on-one, and he or she gives you a resource for an extra week. These are things you cannot learn from flashcards, your average textbook, right? You learn these from pressure. Framework recall versus risk and navigation. The average PM, certified PM, can define risk response strategies. Are we going to avoid, mitigate, transfer, accept? But when I ask, okay, you are 2 weeks behind, vendor is late. Leadership wants status green. They don't want to see any red, okay? They want that dashboard green. What do you do? Critics, there's hesitation because applying risk frameworks in real time requires confidence, political awareness, timing, and a full in-depth grasp of the scope of this project, and communication maturity. Stakeholder management, not the fluffy one that we read about in the book, right? But real stakeholder management, knowing who's who, how to talk to who, what you need from who, and how to navigate all of this. It's not just what is the textbook answer. It's how do I move without destabilizing the room, destabilizing the project, destabilizing the resources, triggering exec. And hiring managers can tell this instantly. Has this been lived? Has this been tested? Or is this regurgitation? They can feel when someone is reciting versus reasoning. And to make matters, I don't want to call it worse, but realistically right now, the job market is not smiling. And not because there aren't jobs. A lot of times right now we're saying, oh, jobs don't exist. There are jobs, trust me. But companies are scrutinizing more than ever. And what that means is there are significantly more touch points before they actually fill a role than before. If you're subscribed to the PM Signal, our monthly newsletter, then you saw it in February's edition. Literally, let me read the facts. Currently, 3% of people are getting interviews per position. And more people are applying for jobs than ever. The job market is full. To put this in perspective, in 2024, there were about 10 interactions per hire. In 2025, guess how many there are? 20. No, not 20. It did not simply double. In 2025, there's an average of 65 interactions per hire. That's not even triple or quadruple. So that should tell you alone how much harder it is to land a role that you could have landed 3 years ago. Now I'm going a little off topic, but I mean, just to make it logical, think about it, right? We saw all the budget cuts that large corporations had to undergo. We saw them let go thousands of employees, and these were the large companies that we would never think can go through financial hardship. So think about it. If a company had to cut their expenses down to that level, and they are just now increasing budgets, even giving budgets to hiring, can you imagine how much they must scrutinize that position to ensure that it makes sense, it makes money, and it's not going to be a turnover? So that gives you a little bit of insight as to why the same way you used to apply, the same way you used to interview, the same way you maybe used to get jobs is not what's going to work today. So those of you who have your certifications but don't have that much lived experience that you can really reference, that is why you have to really pressure test. Like, it's bigger than just going through interview questions like the good old days. You have to change your method. Okay, so back on topic. I went on a little tangent because it's something that all of us are dealing with the impact of, but nobody's really talking about the why behind. So I'll do another video more in depth to just explain everything that I said detailed so we can actually see how it all connects. But back to the gap. Another gap I see, vocabulary versus trade-offs. A lot of people say, I manage stakeholders, I manage a timeline, I created a timeline, I tracked risk. But when you dig deeper and ask, what trade-off did you make? What constraint did you protect? How did you determine what to protect? That is where execution shows up. And that reasoning behind how and why you made those decisions are what's truly important, because project management is truly all about trade-offs. You rarely get fast, cheap, great quality, all the resources you need. So which one do you protect? And why? How did you come up with that? That answer is what tells me if you've led under pressure or simply supported under a structure. And that's okay. It's all about steps. Nothing is wrong with leading projects in a structured format, but that just may be a reason you are not able to scale, move to the next level, or land the job that you feel that you are capable of. So to sum it all together, this gap is lived experience versus book knowledge. I just broke it down through some core examples that I often see these days. And the reality is, hiring managers have a reputation to upkeep. They really need to be sure that any PM they are sending to a team is going to fulfill, and not only fulfill, but exceed. That way, their relationship stays tight. So it's not because they're mean, not because they're like gatekeeper, but because experienced project managers that have been in those real high pressure projects speak differently, or should speak differently. Because we shouldn't just be describing what happened. We should never be summarizing a project. We should not be listing tasks that we did. We need to explain judgment, escalation timing, the process, the stakeholder impact, risk containment, because risk is so real in this industry. It's subtle, but once you know what to listen for, you can't miss it. And again, I just said that experienced project managers should sound different. And I say should because I understand it's natural to say track timeline, allotting resources, mitigated risk, manage the risk register. But now you need to be able to feel your lived experience and your thought process. And this is why some people feel like I did everything right. I got my certification. I interviewed well. I answered their questions. My resume has all the project management, terms, tools, but it's still not converting. Why didn't I get the role? And it's because knowing the language isn't the same as embodying the role. Execution maturity is not learned from reading. It helps, don't get me wrong. I'm an advocate for reading, researching, learning from people, but you need more. Execution maturity is learned from navigating pressure, from owning something when it is extremely uncomfortable and the odds seem to be against you, making a call when there is not a clean answer, meaning you're making that call and you may not even be so certain in it yourself, but you just have to use the experience that you have to choose the best route to go. And that means it also comes from being wrong sometimes. Being wrong allows us to learn from mistakes, decide what we would do better next time, how we would navigate that situation better. That's where growth happens. And let me be clear, this is not an attack on certifications. And this is not to make you feel like you are not doing the right things, like you're not trying hard enough. That is not it at all. I'm just trying to emphasize that in today's day and age, certifications are tools, but tools are not craftsmanship. Execution is craftsmanship. And project management is so much more than it's been cut out to be sometimes. There's a huge creativity factor. And by creativity, I mean filling in gaps. This is the finish line. There are obstructions to get there. There are two people. Two people need to get from here to here. Somebody's got to get there first because of how they strategize to get there. A project is anything with a start to a finish. An operation is something that's ongoing. That means that you're coming up with a way to make it to the end. And the way that you decide to make it to the end is your creativity. And that's what a company needs. Even in waterfall environments where everything's already drafted out, you're going to have issues. You're going to have to make trade-offs. You're going to have to think of workarounds. That is how you gain execution maturity. Now it's about articulating it properly through your resume and through interviews. It's in that space where you feel competent, but it's not converting to not panic. It does not mean you're incapable. It doesn't even mean something's wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you don't have the experience. It may just mean that you need sharpening. Whether that's sharpening the experience you already have, that way you articulate it better, or it's simply pressure testing with mock projects, mock situations to sharpen the way that you think. It's not more vocabulary. It's not more memorization. It's not more tools, more reasoning. That gap, it can be closed, but it's closed through pressure, reflection, and refinement, not just information. And that is the real work. Alrighty, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I pray this video had a light bulb moment for you, helped give you some clarity, confidence, or even helped you define the next step that you want to take regarding your career. If this was helpful, don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow on all social media platforms at Project Managher. And if you're interested in coaching, resume refinement, or we have group cohorts going throughout the year, check out projectmanagher.com. Everything you need is right there. And as always, you can set up a complimentary PM strategy call with me. You can find all the links in my bio. Be blessed.